The boy didn't reach for the sandwich at first. His fingers hovered in the air, trembling slightly, as if touching it might make it disappear. His eyes, too quiet for someone so young, lifted slowly toward her, searching for something deeper than permission. Maybe trust, maybe proof that this moment was real and not another cruel tease life had played on him. If you believe every story hides a lesson, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories, because sometimes, the smallest moments carry the biggest truths. The diner smelled of fried oil and old memories, the kind of place where time seemed to stick to the walls. Neon lights flickered faintly against chrome edges, and the hum of a tired refrigerator blended with the distant clatter of dishes. She sat on a cracked red stool, her coat wrapped tightly around her like armor against a world that had given her very little lately. She had ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. Just enough to quiet the ache in her stomach, not enough to feel full. Every bite had been measured, stretched, negotiated in her mind as if hunger itself could be reasoned with. And then she saw him. He sat 2 stools away at first, small and still, like he was trying not to take up space. His hoodie was worn thin at the elbows, and there was a faint stain near his shoulder, the kind that doesn't come out no matter how many times you wash it. He didn't look around like most kids would. He didn't fidget. He just watched the food. Not greedily, not desperately, just quietly. That kind of quiet didn't belong to children. She tried to ignore it. God knows she tried. She focused on her plate, on the last half of her sandwich, on the way her own hands felt colder than usual. But every time she lifted the food to her mouth, she felt his eyes again, not staring at her, but at the sandwich itself, like it was something sacred. Her chest tightened. She knew that feeling, that silent calculation, that invisible question, do I deserve to eat today? Before she could stop herself, she turned slightly and held the sandwich out. Her voice came softer than she expected, almost breaking under its own weight. She told him it was for him. The boy didn't move at first. Then, slowly, like he was afraid of waking up from a dream, he took it. And for a brief second, something changed in his face. Not a smile, not quite relief, just a flicker of warmth breaking through the stillness. She watched him take the first bite, small and careful, like he needed to make it last forever. Something inside her twisted. Hunger, yes, but also something deeper. Something like remembering who she used to be before life hardened her into survival mode. The diner door creaked open behind them. She didn't turn at first. Just another customer, she thought. Another passing moment in a place where people came and went without leaving anything behind. But then the air shifted. Footsteps. Firm, deliberate. Not rushed, not careless. The kind of steps that belong to someone used to being heard without trying. She glanced back. A man stood near the entrance, his clothes simple but clean, his presence oddly out of place in the tired diner. His eyes moved quickly across the room until they landed on the boy. And in that instant, something broke through his composed expression. Recognition, relief, fear. The boy froze mid-bite. The sandwich lowered slowly in his hand. For a moment, neither of them moved. It felt like the entire diner held its breath, like even the flickering lights understood that something fragile was unfolding. The man approached, slower now, as if not to scare him away. She watched, confused, her mind trying to piece together what she was seeing. The boy who looked like he had nothing. The man who clearly wasn't. The same. And then she saw it. Not in their clothes, not in their faces, in their eyes. The same quiet depth, the same weight carried without words. The man knelt slightly, his gaze softening in a way that didn't match the rest of him. There was no anger, no sharp questions, just a silent check. Are you okay? The boy nodded faintly, still holding the sandwich. The man's eyes shifted then, just briefly, toward her. And something unspoken passed between them. Gratitude. Not the kind people say out loud. Not polite or rehearsed. The kind that sits heavy in the chest because it came at the exact moment it was needed most. She looked away quickly, suddenly aware of the emptiness in front of her plate. Her stomach reminded her what she had given up, but strangely, it didn't hurt as much anymore. She expected them to leave. Expected the moment to fade like everything else in her life. But the man lingered for a second longer. Just long enough to really see her. Not her worn coat or tired eyes, but the quiet choice she had made without knowing who was watching. And then they were gone. The diner returned to its usual rhythm. The hum, the clatter, the emptiness. But something had shifted. Days passed. Life didn't suddenly become easier. Bills didn't disappear, hunger didn't stop visiting, but that moment stayed with her. Not because of who the man turned out to be, but because, for one brief moment, she had given something when she had almost nothing left. And somehow, that had been enough. If this story made you feel something, anything at all, take a moment to like, comment, and share. Sometimes the smallest kindness echoes farther than we ever realize. Before the story ends, tell me in the comments, would you have shared your last meal? Weeks later, when she saw his face again, this time in a place filled with polished floors and quiet wealth, she understood the truth. Not about money, not about luck, but about how easily we misread each other. The boy hadn't needed saving. The man hadn't needed proving. But in that small, unnoticed corner of a fading diner, something real had happened. And for once, it didn't matter who had everything, and who had nothing. Because in that moment, they had met as equals.